Today. Today I have a fun story that took place in West Virginia. I went on a ghost walk and encountered something on our walk. And before I start, I just want to give a little shout out to three people that always leave a comment and say some positive things for me. So I just wanted to say hi to Miss Maggie, Miss Olivia, and Will. Thank you so much for always leaving a comment and being so positive. Before we start, I just want to remind you, if you like my story, if you can just go ahead and subscribe. I do want to have, I'm going to be adding more stories and more legends as we keep going into the end of the year. So, all right, so let's begin. So my story, like I said, took place in West Virginia. I had gone to a school trip with my son and his class. It was planned by me. My kids go to private school, so any trips to the capital, things like that, were arranged by the parents. So I was planning the trip. I was the head mother, and I had slipped in a little ghost walk in there because I'd always wanted to go here locally where I live, but nobody wanted to go with me because they were just afraid of things attaching themselves to them. You know, my family, my friends, because I would also tell them about how I would go on trips and spiritual cleansing of houses, and how sometimes I would bring something back or just go to a place that was haunted and it would come back with me. So my friends and family were just like, no. So I finally gonna go and to a part of the country where it's just full of history and war and all these things happening. So I thought I'm sure to pick up something. So I was pretty excited. So the town that we went to, I'm not too sure where it was, but it was cobblestone streets, and all the shops were just beautifully old shops. The windows were beautiful. The architecture, like I said, I loved it. And the man who was our guide was dressed in old-fashioned period clothing, and he took us to quite a few houses, and we stayed outside, and he would tell us something about the house, a story about someone who lived there, and that kind of a thing. And he wore a vest, and he wore these, the loose period pants where they had like a thin nylon sock that men wore, and then like a black shoe with like a buckle in the front or a small boot. And his shirt had like a loose, big white bow, those loose flowing bows right here, and then those huge sleeves that were gathered here. So he took us on a few places, and the last house was a small mansion, and it was the right-hand man of George Washington. So he's telling us a part of the story in the front of the house, and then he takes us around to the back. And so the land slopes down a little bit, and there is a carriage house on the very back. So the roof kind of is like a little terrace. There's no part of the house above the carriage house. So it had two big swing doors in the back, and then it had a small door cut out on one of the big carriage doors. And outside we had very long 10 to 12 foot benches, and all of us just sat across from each other, and this man stood in front of the carriage doors telling us the story. So like I said, the land sloped down, and there was a little 3-foot black wrought iron fence in the back. And then there was a little alley where cars can drive by. So a very nice land, really pretty trees and bushes, and they had some twinkling lights here and there. And it was just landscaped. So he's telling us the story about how the general would have a spy come late at night whenever he had information, and he knocked a certain way on that little back door on the carriage doors. So, two meant, for the slave girls or whoever the house slaves would open the door and get the information, get a note, whatever. Let him in, because they didn't want him out standing too long, because then people would see that, oh, he's got a spy there. So he, as he's telling this story, I thought, I wonder if there's anything out here that I could pick up on this story. I wonder if there's anyone here right now. So as soon as I thought it, I I could feel something standing behind me. So I immediately just turned around so fast, like, and it scared everybody. It did scare them, and everybody stopped, and the guide just looked at me, like, really? And he had already warned everybody before he had done the tour that, because we had, 8th graders with us, just warning us, like, just letting you know, I don't want to be anybody laughing or making jokes or talking amongst themselves and ignoring the tour. No interruptions, la la la. We only have an hour. So here I was, the one that scared everybody and stopped it. And so he just kind of like looking at me, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was a moth behind me and it scared me. So the moths, by the way, over there were huge. I was not used to that. That's like a small bird out here. They were pretty big. So they were fluttering around, but it wasn't a moth behind me that scared me. So I did turn around and I see it, and he was kind of wearing the same kind of clothing, in the sense where he was like that billowy kind of shirt up in the front, like a ruffle all the way down, and a vest. And he looked like, the old pictures back in the day were sepia color, not a black and white, but just a light tan colors and different variations of brown. He just reminded me of that. Like, he just kind of looked, dirty, dusty, and he just looked sad and miserable. Like, he was gaunt looking, by the way, too. He was pretty skinny. I think you can probably say he looked like a zombie, kind of like a zombie, except there was like no flesh hanging off, but he was dark under here, and like I said, really cut cheekbones. And just not really standing up straight, just kind of like hunched over a little bit. Kind of like, I'll show you a picture of what I kind of connect it to. But yeah, it was just kind of creepy. But he was harmless. He wasn't trying to scare me, overpower me, or anything like that. So I just kind of went back and listened to the tour, the story. And just in my head, I said, please don't follow me. Stay here. That doesn't always work. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I kind of just turned it off from there. I said, I don't want to see anything, and just finished the night. We went to dinner, and that night I was pretty tired. And in our hotel room, it was a very old hotel, and it was in Manhattan. And our rooms were really beautiful, dark wallpaper, burgundy, and we had 2 queen beds, and this one was the farthest one in, and there was a closet door next to this bed. That's where my husband and my son slept, and I slept by myself. And this bed, which faced the door, and then the bathroom, so, and a window in the corner. So my husband and my son were just watching TV. They weren't tired in the evening, but I was, because we had walked so much that day, and we had the next day was going to be just as busy, and I wanted to get some sleep. I was really tired, so I fell asleep. They're watching TV. I fell asleep. So middle of the night, it's always between 12 and 3 in the morning, I wake up, and I always ask the same questions, like, do I have to go to the restroom? Was there a noise outside the hallway? Something. And I look, though, to the right, and that's the restroom. And it's always, for me, they're always coming out of the restroom. It's weird. And I see him standing in the doorway. And again, he just looks really sad and gaunt and tired. He looked pretty tired. And I'm just looking at him, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I was trying to ignore him, but I couldn't sleep. And I don't know, it's their energy, they're in my space. I don't know why, but I just can't sleep if they're standing near me. So in my head, I told him to please just go into the restroom. Please go inside and let me sleep. And I know a lot of people always ask me, why are you not afraid, like when they're right in front of you? But he was harmless, and he wasn't going to hurt me. He just was attached to me. And so he went in the bathroom. I was able to go to sleep. So, so our trip went fine, and then we come home. So we're home, and I was extremely jet lagged. My husband, my son, not so much. It just took them a couple of days, and they were back to, themselves. We had to, It was the summertime, so my kids didn't have to go to school. It was like into the summer. And I was jet lagged really bad. We were going on a week and I still could not function. And I was sleeping during the day, and I was trying to adjust it, but it was like I was really weak. So I wasn't as strong as the other two. But so probably on the second day that I was here, I was asleep during the day, and I mean, this is exhaustion. I was so exhausted, but it still woke me up. I thought I was pretty heavy sleeper at that time, and I woke up and I had my back to the edge of the bed, and I turn around and look up, and he's leaning right over me, just looking at me. And I'm like, oh, I just can't right now, I just can't. And I just said, go to the bathroom. I don't want to see you. And he's, and I'm saying it with my mouth, not with my, in here. And he just turns around and he just starts to slowly walk into the bathroom. And I'm like, stay in there too, And so I was able, as I was recuperating and trying to get myself back to my own time, he would constantly be day and night standing next to me. And so one day I was getting, I would say it was like the third, maybe the fourth or fifth day, I was already like feeling a little bit better. And I had some holy water, of course, and I just sprayed from the entrance of my room where my door was, and just did a back and forth sweeping motion to push him into my vanity area where my bathroom was. So I kept him in this area so I could sleep. So as I was recuperating. So on the second week that I had been here back home, I was already feeling better. I was already feeling myself. And he was only allowed to stay in the vanity area, bathroom area. So I just started to make it a little bit smaller for him now. I just pushed him in because I knew I wasn't going to be able to just get rid of him that easy. So I thought I'm going to really have to do it. I wanted to do a whole spiritual cleanse of my kids' room, the living room, kitchen, things like that. I wanted to push him all out and just that kind of thing. So I pushed him further, this time only into the bathroom. Okay, so, and I sprayed myself. And when I would go in there, he would be like Spider-Man, that crouch stance that he has when he's on the walls. He would get up high and try and avoid me. Is that something good? Probably not. If he's trying to avoid me, I had sprayed myself with holy water. So I was like, okay, well, I can't worry about that right now. And I go on with my life, that kind of thing, catch up to things. So I started to notice, when he was in the bathroom, it wasn't bothering me. I was just leaving him in there because I thought I'll deal with that when I get a chance. And my two youngest ones, I started to notice, were avoiding my room. And I would say, oh, well, someone's in the restroom, I have two restrooms. So in the main restroom, one of their siblings was in there, and they're like, I have to use the restroom, Mommy. And I'm like, well, go ahead and use mine, and it can be during the day or at night. It didn't matter. Full daylight, bright room. And they would not go into my bathroom. They're like, oh no, I'll wait. And I thought, well, you might have an accident, so you need to go to the restroom. So they would just stand at the front door. They wouldn't come in. They would just sit at the threshold of the door, and they would just kind of like look in. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna walk them in. And I thought, they sense something. You gotta listen to kids. So I said, I'll stay with you, and you can leave the door open, and I'll stay right here. So, okay, I had a feeling, but that's something, they were sensing something. So then one day, I noticed that they didn't want to be in my room. And then one day I was doing some laundry, and I had, my bed full of towels and socks and things like that. So I was just folding up the towels, and that's where I sleep. I was right there, standing at the edge. And from this area right next to my bed was the vanity area and the restroom, so you can see everything. So, and my daughter's a little bit braver than the boys, and so she stands first at the threshold, and she's talking. What are you doing, Mommy? And I'm like, oh, I'm folding laundry. And I'm like, would you like to help me? And she kind of like, looked around and got a little feel for the room a little bit. And then she comes in and she's, sits on the opposite side of the bed where my husband sleeps. And then she starts to kind of help me with folding the clothes. And she's, folding the clothes for just a few minutes, and then she lost interest, and then she was bouncing on the bed. So we were just chatting back and forth. And on her own, she says, Mommy, I don't like to come into your room. And I said, why? What's wrong? And I had a feeling that she would pick up on something, but I didn't think she would pick up on this much. And so she was saying, because there's a man in your room and he's scary. And I said, okay, is he in here right now? But I already knew he was in the restroom. And occasionally he would, even when I would sleep, he'd come out and just kind of look at me through the doorway. And I just started to close the door at night so I could ignore him. And she says, and she's looking around like this, and she says, no, he's not here right now. Do you know where he's at? I asked her. And as we're having this conversation, her brother, who's a couple years older than her, was standing at the doorway now, just listening to us. And I said, do you see the man right now? And she says, no, he's not here. And then I said, well, where is he? Do you know where he's at? And I'm talking like not to scare her. I'm not trying to be like, where is he? It was more like, nonchalant conversation. Do you see him anywhere now? And she's like, and she kind of like walked around me, and she says, oh, he's in the bathroom. So I thought, okay, confirmed, I always like my kids to confirm it. We're animals, just so I know I'm not going crazy. And so I thought, okay, all right, and why is he scary to you? And so she's starting to describe, well, his clothes are dirty and they're ripped, and his pants were like a light tan. They were loose, and the bottom, he had no shoes on, and the bottom was ripped, really ripped, and no socks, no nothing like that, no nylons. But like he was exactly like she said. His shirt was ripped on the edges. So then my son comes in, and he's like, yes, Mommy, there's a man in here and he's scary, and that's why we don't want to come in to use your restroom, or we won't come in. So they would only come in if I was in the room. And because that thing, he was always bothering me, so I was always sending him to the bathroom. So when I would come and lay down and read my book or whatever, that's when they would come in. So only when I was with them. So he starts to chime in and starts to tell me the same thing. And so what got me to where I realized, okay, I got to get rid of this guy, was where they both start telling me where, he's always standing at your side of the bed. And he's just standing there with hunched over shoulders, and he just looks sad or he's, my daughter was saying, like, he looks dead. And so I thought, okay. And then I said, can you describe to me what he does? Can you act like you're him? So my daughter stands up, and she was a little bitty thing, and she's standing at the edge of the bed. She was about 4. She was very, very bright for 4. And she's standing over the bed, like showing me how he would look at me. Like that's the sense I started to get, like when I'm asleep, how he would just lean over and just look at me, and it was kind of starting to creep me out. And then she says, and then sometimes he just turns around and will walk to the bathroom like this. And the way she walked away was what scared me, because she's only 4, 3.5, 4. And it was like, how would she know? I mean, the way she was mimicking him, that's what scared me. And it was kind of like, I'll see if I can find a video to show you really quick and put it here. But it was kind of like, it was like a zombie. It was like, Walking Dead, how they're just walking kind of like slow. And I don't know. That is what did it for me. So I was like, So the next day I tell my husband, you need to take the kids out. And I mean, I was making sure, after she told me this, they told me this, I just said, okay, he's not going to be in my room anymore. I put him in the bathroom and he's not allowed to come out. So don't be afraid to come into my room. He can't get you. So, and I just told him the story, like he's, you know, he's suffering a little bit, so I'm going to release him and send him off. And so I said, don't be afraid of him, and, you know, everything's fine. But I tell my husband, you're going to take the kids out to the movies tomorrow. And I want you guys gone for a couple of hours because I got to spiritually cleanse the house, and I'm going to do a whole whammy on it. So as soon as they walked out, as soon as they left, I started from my living room, and I closed all the windows in the house except for one in my bedroom, and that's where he's at, right? So I made sure every window is closed. And I start from the far corner of the house. That's the opposite end of my bedroom. So I just kind of, like I said, start from one corner, zigzaggy, all the way, seal the doors, go into the next area, kitchen, all that good stuff, the kids' room. So I'm just making a barrier, and I'm pushing it and making it smaller area where he's at. So I did it. But, you know, I don't know why I did this, but I feel bad now because I had said, as I was kicking him out, and I went into the restroom and I just pushed him out of the restroom, and I pushed him out. I pushed him out into where my bedroom was, and I have a 10-foot slider. So as I was pushing him out, I was saying, you will go to the sands of Africa for 1,000 millennia. And I just whooshed him out. And I did feel bad afterwards because I thought, well, he probably should have just gone back to where he, you know, was. And I felt bad because I thought, well, I sent him to Africa for 1,000 millennia in the sands of Africa. I mean, it's a desert, it's hot. And I thought, oh, that's pretty sad. But that was my story, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I wanted to share that with you guys. But yeah, I mean, you can go on ghost walks, and you can bring things back if you're sensitive to that. Even if you're not sensitive to it, you can't probably see them, but you can sense them. Yeah, you can pick these things up. So, you know, I would definitely spray yourself with some holy water, wear, you know, a cross, or maybe the Virgin Mary on a medallion, something that's going to repel them, because you know, we don't want to bring things back like that. But like I said, he was harmless. He wasn't hurting me or anything like that, or trying to take over me. But he was, you know, I felt like I gave him a different atmosphere, different place to hang out, instead of the carriage house of that sergeant's home. And you know, something different, a different pace for him. So that is my story for today. What would you do if this was your situation? I'm curious. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. And if you have any stories, I would love to hear those. Pretty fascinating stories. So that is my story for today. Just a little reminder, if you like the story, please subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining me today. Take care. Bye-bye.